Hello, 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 everybody. Thank you for tuning in today on Thursday. I know we're generally on Wednesdays, but your girl had a whole lot going on yesterday, so I had to move it to today. So thank everybody for tuning in. We've got Les and Elena has graced us with her presence again this week. So thank you for joining us again, Elena. Um, how is everybody doing today? I'm talking to y'all too.
I was lady first.
It's a loaded question. I'm all right, Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. The snow was beautiful this morning. It's
Yes,
nice
it
to be up
was.
to that.
hmm It was. When I went to bed last night, it wasn't doing anything, and I was like, it's probably not gonna do nothing. I woke up this morning like, oh, okay. So yeah, got about 4 inches. I was pleasantly surprised. How you doing, Les?
I'm doing well. Can't
That's
complain.
good.
I'm everything black today.
Okay.
Black thought.
Okay. All right.
Black Ethiopian coffee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
Ethiopian
right.
coffee is the best.
All right. So if you are watching us, please say hello. We like to um, say hello to our viewers. Let us know how you're doing, how your week is going thus far. Tomorrow is Friday.
Yeah.
And if you, I don't know, are a government worker or contractor, whatever, we have Monday off. So 3-day weekend is in effect. President's Day.
Uh,
I saw that look. And she was like, what holiday?
Elaine, are you off? Oh no, you private sector, right?
nonprofit, and no, we are not off. I
so
wish.
so yeah.
No.
What's up? Hey Chef Todd. Thanks for showing up. Sorry for not being on yesterday. Like I said, I had a lot going on. So I started to just cancel again, but I was like, now we'll just move it
Yeah.
to a
Oh,
different day. Hey Rich Stokey
Yolanda Brown.
from the Smoke Black Cigar Club. Thank you for tuning in, Rich. Appreciate it. Hey sis. Welcome back. Thanks, Yolanda. Welcome, Rich. This is your first time with us, so thank you. We are an interactive group, so if we're talking about something and you want to jump in, please feel free to do so. Um, and Chef Todd says, got the buttons. Appreciate y'all. I'm awesome. Awesome. Oh, Bellany told me that she got hers as well. So
Good.
thank you, Les, for getting that out to everybody. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I didn't have a choice. He was like, send me the confirmation and the tracking number.
Because I know you. I know you. I know you.
We haven't even met. You know.
I know you. Whatever.
She knows you.
Thank
You
you,
know what?
Elena.
I guess we can have another giveaway today as well. You know.
Sure. Let's ask a question that
Yeah. So let's give the folks a few more minutes to get in.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad everyone got their buttons. Looking forward to sending out some more.
Mm-hmm.
Getting everybody to support Black Spasms, and let's take it to a different level in 2021.
Exactly. Hey, Rich, if you I think you're still on. Let me know what you smoking, man. Because I'm the only one on the panel that smokes, and I'm unapologetic for it. So, any of my people that
you may be the only one that smokes on this broadcast. I smoke knowledge.
Oh my God.
Hot loose.
I see this. I see this. So, what do you want to talk about, Les? You said you had a lot on your mind today, so let's just dive right into it.
What's the topic for today? I think you put the topic out there.
You said something about Black America or Black people and white supremacy. I don't know. You know, I had a lot going on with my brain today. The state of Black people outside of white supremacy.
Outside of white supremacy. So,
yes.
You know me. It all began with what?
Slavery.
Slavery.
Right, we know that.
Right.
So, based on it, we know that it all began with slavery, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Enjoying a Symmetry, by definition, cigars, a Black-owned company. Oh, yeah. And then Ty says, yeah, look, you need to surround yourself with better people, damn non-smokers.
Oh man, hold up. We got Aubrey Ike Sneed. Man, let me tell you something. Let me tell
Hi,
you about
Aubrey. Well, first off, let's welcome him. Welcome to the show, Aubrey. Thank you for tuning in.
that's brother Ike. Ike has been I've known Ike since I was a kid. Ike is damn good peoples.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Ike. We're glad to have you.
I'd like to get Ike on the show one day too, man. Hopefully I can get on there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know. And hold on, let's go back to Chef Todd. I said non-smokers on the podcast. Nikki, okay.
Huh?
All right.
You said you were smoking knowledge. So we got a delay today. I don't know if it's my computer or if it's StreamYard, but it's like when I go to add people, it takes forever to pull it up. So I apologize for that, y'all, ahead of time. But finish what you were saying last. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, with me, everything goes back to slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Ike. And but today I wanted to talk about the state of Black people, outside of white supremacy in terms of what it is that we can do. I believe that our overall Black people, the Black race, I believe that our development has been totally arrested. I believe that things have been put into us consciously that if weren't there, we wouldn't be in the condition that we're in. And I believe that the removal of us from our homeland, be it mental, physical, or spiritual, has done damage and will continue to do damage to us. So at the very, very beginning, when I embarked upon this journey, one of the things that I was saying was this: can Black people be healed, or are Black people too broken to be healed? I think we talked about that once before. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I think that it's over for Black people in terms of being able to be completely repaired. I think that we're going to have to go from where we are and take what we have to build a better society amongst Black people first, in terms of how we raise our kids. So with that being said, what I wanted to focus on today was the state of Black people outside of white supremacy. Yeah, we know what happened, but what can we do now that can improve our condition?
So when you shared today's topic with me, I'm always going to grab a book. Can I read something to you guys?
Sure.
That may be interesting to kind of jumpstart the discussion. So this is one of my, let me find it in the camera. One of my favorite books, okay. SBA, The Reawakening of the African Mind by Asa Hilliard. My uncle gifted me this book when I was a teenager. And I just want to share a short snippet from it. No matter where Africans are on the continent or in the diaspora, our condition is the same. We are on the bottom and descending. The Ma'afa continues to take its toll, slavery. We are unconscious, unorganized, unfocused, and lost from our purpose. Our strongest visible leadership is in hot pursuit of minimal, narrow goals like integration, civil rights, jobs, voter registration, etc. We seek minimal adjustment and temporary comfort by assimilating to whatever the political, economic, and cultural order may be, even when that order is itself in chaos or driven by values that are anti-African and anti-human. When we dream, we often do not dream original dreams. We merely seek relief from pain. As a result, the dream does not encompass a meaningful plan or strategy which is connected to mobilization. We do not know who we are, cannot explain how we got here, and have no sense of our destiny beyond mere survival. Most of us hope to hitch a ride on someone else's wagon with no thought whatsoever as to where that wagon may be going. We have no destination of our own. Ask our leadership, ask our women, men, or children on the street what our agenda is. Ask them what plans Africans have and what we want to build for ourselves within the next 5, 10, 25, 75, or 100 years. We're so used to having others make long-term plans for us that the idea of our own 5-year plan is petrifying to us. As the 20th century comes to a close, why do we remain in such a vulnerable and debased condition? Certainly, the conscious and confined oppression of our enemies is a factor, but several other factors have contributed to our present condition and prevent us from reaching our full potential as a people. We cannot advance because we have almost done no unified spiritual base that respects and complements our different religions, no global view of ourselves as one people, no geopolitical view of our condition as a people, no global strategy or even local strategy for our uplift as a people, no collective aim, no structures for socializing the masses of our children, and no structure for communicating these things to our masses. What you think?
Okay, so hold up. While you were reading, we had some comments. So Ike said, "What leadership?"
Right.
And then Rich says, "I disagree that we are beyond repair. I believe that we need to first recognize the challenges post-traumatic, it's supposed to be slavery syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGruy points them out well. We cannot address a problem when only aware of the leaves of it, because only pulling up the root will be sustainable as a solution."
Okay.
And Aubrey says, "Love to see a beautiful woman enjoy a cigar." Oh, thank you, Ike.
All right, let's go back. That was a lot, Elena. I mean, it was a lot, and it's
It was deep. It was very, very deep, and some of it I really, really agree with. So yeah.
We going back to a 5-year plan, right? That seems like it is a long ways off, but it's not. The night that Donald Trump was selected as president, 4 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Democrats, Black people, everybody thought it was going to be the longest 4 years in their life until a couple of weeks ago when, the new term administration came in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. What is our plan? What is our direction? What are our goals?
Mm-hmm.
What are our dreams?
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely, the dream thing really got me, and I'm like, damn, he has a point there.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be something I guess if we could type it up and put it out there, because I'm getting the book. Can you send me the book when you get a minute?
Yeah, send that to me too. I really want to do that. I just want to add that Chef Todd says, as long as you try to fix yourself by their standards and play the game by their rules, we will always be broken beyond repair. And Dex says, good afternoon, Black people. Hey, Dex. So I agree 100% with Todd. And then Ike says, nah, bruh, that 4 years felt like a decade, bruh. I will admit it did seem like a long 4 years, and it felt even longer once we knew who the new administration was going to be. I mean, from November to January 20th felt like an eternity. But as far as the 5 years, one thing that we don't talk about in the Black community is legacy. We don't talk about legacy and leaving our legacy or our mark, on the world or for our kids. It's just, I think that with a lot of Blacks, it's just trying to make it to the next day or to the next week, let alone trying to see 5 years from now. So I don't know if they know how to look for the next 5 years. A lot of people don't know what they want to do. So if you don't know what you want to do, how can you look forward to the next 5 years if you don't know what you want to do, in the next year?
Right. Well, let me add to that, I'm going to specifically address the Black men, that are on this chat.
Podcast. Mm-hmm.
We were taught that, hell, you may not even make it to your 18th birthday. A Black man makes it to his 18th birthday, 21st birthday. So I'm 50. I'm saying, no, 51, you know. So it's like for me to be in my 50s and having and still here, not because of some type of disease or anything, but the fact that I haven't been shot by the police or shot by another black person, or even shot by a white person, it seems like a miracle. So it's hard to start talking about legacy and things of that nature when we're not even expected to live past 18, 21, you know, 50. So
Keep talking. I'm just putting it up there. We can read it.
so I mean, you're right. We don't talk about legacy, but how do we talk about legacy? But before we go there, I don't want to dismiss what Rich said. You know what I mean? Because I appreciate all compliments and all disagreeable statements. You know, he said beyond repair. You know what? And let me scale back a little bit and say I won't say that we are beyond repair. If I did say that, or if I did say we're broken, and I guess if you're broken, I guess broken and can't be fixed. I don't think that we will ever get back to the place that we have read about. Where black men and women were kings and queens. Not all black men and women were kings and queens in Africa, but I don't think that we will ever return back to a state in which we've read about. To me, a lot of it seems as though talk about us. It talks about mythology. You know, I look at it as a child who's been molested. Okay, you may get over that. You may get into a beautiful, sustainable relationship. But in the back of your mind, you're always going to have that challenge that you're dealing with. I think that we have been molested, you know, spiritually, physically, mentally, from a cultural perspective, and everything else, you know. And I think the point of the point of origin that we have in terms of who we are to look to as a source of spiritual leadership being God, you know, that's even been tainted. You know, they played with all of that. So it's bad enough we're starting from, you know, 50 yards behind. I like that shirt, by the way. You know, can you do it again? You know, Black Spasms, you know, Elena, but it's bad enough that we're doing that. The challenge is that we have so much that we're dealing with. Even it's like this: our root chakra has been damaged so bad that you may be 50, 51 years old and you have to go back and repair your root chakra. What happens if we're trying to get in contact with God? You know what I'm saying? And the only way we know is the way in which we've been communicated to or dictated to. I'm finished.
Okay, so because we've had quite a few comments. So Ike says, I lost, or should I say removed, a lot of so-called black and white friends due to the Trump administration. And then Rich said, subscribing to their expectations of us keeps us defeated. And
can I say I agree with that? And I think Chef Todd said something like that earlier, basically to the effect that we can't fix ourselves by their standards. You know, the African mind is incompatible with the world that we live in, and we will always fail if we use someone else's standards to try to fix or grow ourselves. Chef Todd, big up, and Rich, totally agree.
Got you. Hey, Ken.
Ken, where you been? I was worried about you. For the long.
So Todd said, molested is putting it extremely nicely. And Ike says, nothing is beyond repair. Anything broke can always be fixed. We made it. Now let's heal. The tragedy comes from the brothers and sisters like George Floyd that didn't survive the last four. And then Rich says, I need to type more slowly. I got you.
Don't worry about that, man.
So Dex says, as a people, we need to teach our children goals, teach them finance, give them property, engage them in the forms of wealth building that we were not taught, like stock market. But that goes kind of back to what I was talking about, legacy. Your legacy, you know, can be anything. And I will say that he says, Les, brother been working, kicking my ass, but I'm here. I'm good. I would say that when I was in, when I worked in the stock market, I tried to educate as many blacks as I could because I understood how wealth worked. I understood how they kept it, how they kept wealth in the family. And I tried to educate, I tried to talk to people. This is how you do it, this, that, and the other. No one listened to me. No one wanted to hear what I had to say. So I stopped talking. I felt like, well, what's the point in trying to share if, nobody wanted to hear? But then as I got older, I thought that, well, maybe it's because they couldn't comprehend what I was saying. I think it might have been too big to comprehend, at that time, because I was, and it wasn't like I was trying to give people like a lot of money. My thing was $25, $25 a pay period. And I, would show them how that could grow. But, they were like, well, I can't afford it. And I'm like, well, the cigarettes that you buying, the alcohol that you buying, the things that you don't technically need, but it was just a conversation that I think a lot of people just weren't ready to have.
Right. Elena, do you have something to say? Because I'm about to jump in there. I ain't want to hog up.
I do. I think the last comment I see says that collectively we are better than our parents, and I agree with that. There are a lot of speaking about the stock market and things of that nature. There are a lot of young people whose parents never taught them fiscal responsibility, but who are into the stock market and cryptocurrency. So, while yes, you have some millennials who are putting gems on layaway to implant them in their heads, there are still young people and young Black millennials who are engaging and using all of the tools at their disposal to build legacies. So whereas their parents may not have been open to it, I see a generation who is open and who's working it.
Okay.
What you got, Les?
Nikki said when she was working at the stock market, she tried to teach or educate people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem. Try to teach. All right? Try to teach. Have you guys ever seen, are you guys familiar with Robin Sharma, the monk that had a Ferrari or stole my Ferrari, something like that? If you look him up, the monk that sold his Ferrari. If you look him up, you'll see him. And he does motivational speaking. And he was saying that his father would bring home different people to his house, and they would sit around a table and they would talk, right? The monk that sold his Ferrari, and they will sit around and talk. The problem is going back to being assaulted, molested, raped, enslaved, is that when you say, I try to teach people, right? In the white community, is there ever a thing when we are trying to teach you something, or we're teaching you something and this is what it is? When did we, as Black people, as Africans, get away from when the elders spoke, we didn't listen? When the elders sat down and talked to us, we didn't participate, we didn't partake. When the mothers showed the daughters and the sisters how to cook, right? I ain't doing that today, right? So within that time period, what was introduced to us is not wanting to learn. No dignity, no self-respect, no self-esteem, no self-worth. So when you say, I'm trying to teach you, I'm not trying to, it's to the point. That's the problem right then and there. Because how is it that if we come from a position of civilization where we started this thing, why is it that we are now the lowest people on the totem pole? And this is what I'm going back to, and I guess maybe I'm contradicting myself, saying what can we do outside of white supremacy? But there's a problem. I'm not trying to teach you anything. I'm learning you. I'm moving beyond. I tell my daughter all the time, I'm not teaching you nothing. I'm learning you. We're moving past the teaching, and we're going directly into learning, where you have no choice but to learn what it is that I'm teaching you or what I'm giving you. Cryptocurrency. Here we go. We got people like, nah, I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's risky. What about those people What about those people who, when Walmart came knocking on their door, said, "Hey, why don't you invest $1,000? You know, we're trying to start Walmart." You know, look at them now.
Mm-hmm. So Rich says, I disagree because I measure better by the average net worth of our people, which sadly is still very low. And Dex says, that's why I stated as teach our children. When you teach a child, you teach a generation.
Yes, I won't say yes and no, but I'll say yes and no, right? And the reason I say that is because, you know, we're teaching children, but are they progressing with this information? Are they passing this information along? Because you got some. I mean, here we go. Let's go back. You ready? Amos Wilson, Dr. John Heinrich Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, you know, Martin Luther King, Francis Fanon. All of these people have given out information. Asa Hilliard have given us information. And what have we done with it? Amos Wilson said, we are no better than, we are not in a better condition than our ancestors.
So Ike says, good point. We've replaced many of our good cultural practices learned in Africa with many bad cultural practices learned in America, the switch.
Mm-hmm.
And Chef Todd says, hate to be a Debbie Downer, but it's hard to talk about tomorrow when today is hard enough to handle. They say tomorrow isn't promised. Well, shit, being Black in America an hour from now isn't promised. So us teaching legacy becomes an afterthought in the bundle of priorities. Our Black people and children are in the middle of open season, and we prioritize living for today instead of living for tomorrow. Sad but true. Woo! Well, you said a mouthful with that, Todd.
You did. Let's go back. I want to talk about that. Can we go back to Rich? I'm sorry, Dex Saint said, Rich, we can agree to disagree. Okay. And you know what? But I like the dialogue because that's one thing about this. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of things that Nikki says. You know what I mean? Even though I act like I do. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, sure, but I'm gonna go back and read that dialogue too, but Chef Todd, yeah, you're not being a Debbie Downer, you're being a realist.
Yep, exactly.
You're being a realist.
Mm-hmm.
You make, if you bring home $100 a week, right? Can you save money? Can you really save money? Legacy comes in, I can put $25 away, right? But your bills come up to more than $75. We can't put away. We have to operate in the present, in the now. And the problem with that is, it seems like we can't prepare for our future. Elaine, I see you disagreeing.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, I recognize it is difficult. But Nikki said something earlier about getting people to give $25 a paycheck, even if it's not that much, just you can do things in extremely small increments. For example, at the beginning, this pandemic has been wonderful for some people. Can I just say that financially? At the beginning of this pandemic, Bitcoin was like $11,000, $12,000 per Bitcoin. Now, I think yesterday, it was like 40 something thousand. So it has multiplied in value. It's 4 times what it was worth. Tesla stock is about 6 times what it was worth when the pandemic started. Netflix and Zoom especially are about worth twice as much money now as when the pandemic started. And there were tons of cannabis stocks that were just jumping off the charts yesterday. So, we can start somewhere. And I think I can see, I'm not negating the fact that dealing with today is not difficult, but even if it's in small and incremental ways, we have to prioritize tomorrow as well. If it's $5, like $5 could be 25 that you didn't have, I don't think that the changes are going to be large and sweeping. It's not like I believe in the reawakening of the African mind. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but sometimes we just have to take responsibility for doing things incrementally and small. Like you have to. It's not okay to say today is difficult, so I can't think about tomorrow. I mean, I get it. I'm in the same place, but somebody's got to say, what are we going to do about tomorrow? Because this is kind of why we are in the situation we're in. I think that it is incumbent, and Aubrey said this earlier, like what leaders? We need to hold our leaders accountable. Like somebody needs to be thinking about our collective tomorrows. As we think about our personal tomorrows, we can't just leave that in the hands of chance. I'm not okay with it. I just put it to you like that. I'm not okay with it. And so while today is difficult, I'm gonna give some time and some thought into how to create better tomorrows. Like I don't think it's a no. I think it's a yes and. No matter how small the what you do may be.
Got you. So Ike says, don't forget Amazon.
Absolutely.
Right. And so Robert says, damn, I'm going to miss this, but I want to see it. Tag me if you guys post it, Nikki. What are you talking about, Robert? It's on my page. It stays on there. So Rich says, anyone who can't save needs to get a second income like they would if they wanted a new pair of sneakers, purse, car. Saving is step one to investing, which is mandatory because one can't build legacy without assets. Very true. And Dex says, as a father of three now adult children, I taught them the good and the bad. I fear for my son daily, but I taught him. He is now a successful young man in the government that is aware how to handle himself in the presence of law enforcement, etc. I refuse to let what life throws at us stop the growth of my children.
Okay. I mean, great segue to growing our children, gening our children, as as Nikki would say.
Yes.
Gene, right? I've added a few more of those as well.
Okay.
But before we go there, Rich, I acknowledge what Rich is saying as well. Saving is a step one to investing, which is mandatory, because one can't build legacy without assets. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. I think what we need more than anything is we need that momentum push or that boost to get us rolling again. Elena said we need to hold our leadership accountable. Ike said earlier, he asked the question, what leadership? You know what I'm saying? What leadership are we talking about? I've always heard that in the white community, they have leadership. In the black community, we have leaders.
Mm-hmm.
That they teach their kid that everyone in their household takes on a responsibility. You are your own leader.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have, we've been taught that we have to have someone. They've given us, who is our leader now? Who is our leader now? Elaine, I know who do you think, he's on his way out. You don't hear about him that much, but who do you think is our leader now? If you like him or not, good, bad, different, black, white, ugly. Who do you think I'm talking about?
I don't know. Who are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know either.
Who? Okay.
Don't say Jesse Jackson.
Oh, hell no.
Oh,
No.
I can't really say.
Messy Jesse? Man, please. Who speaks for black people?
Al Sharpton?
Nah, come on, man.
I mean, I don't.
Farrakhan.
Oh, I don't see. I don't know.
Well, what I'm saying is, if we, right now, the only voice that we have would be Farrakhan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that you have to agree with him,
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
But we don't have any leaders anymore.
So Ike says, to be honest, I learned the most about my financial literacy in Fed prison with some good brothers that had the time and patience to teach me things I had never heard of. Um, some of the best brothers in some of the best brothers with the greatest leadership capacity are in prison, keeping it real.
Mhm.
And Rich says, no one.
No one. Right. No one. No one. After Farrakhan, who do we have?
But
We
you,
talking,
Say what?
there are a ton of people who position themselves as leaders.
Name one.
Dr. Umar Johnson, he would,
Keep-
if he were on this panel today, he would tell you that he is the prince of Pan-Africanism and that, he sees himself as a leader.
Yes. Okay. Give me another one.
Mm.
so Frank says, no one speaks for us. Hey, Frank, welcome to the show.
Frank. Okay. Okay, Frank. And right. No one speaks for us. But if there was one black leader, like there was when Dr. Martin Luther King was speaking, Malcolm was speaking, I would say, go ahead.
I think that don't we have some on the grassroots level, like Tamika Lowry and Sean King? I'm gonna throw this name out there. He probably gonna have a fit. But what about like Cornel West? Yes, no? Was that another hell no? I mean,
Depends on the day of the week.
okay,
No, no,
okay.
no, no.
So Ike says LeBron James. Frank says can't even trust Farrakhan.
Right. It's not about trust. Go ahead.
And Todd says it's not about who speaks for us, but who is listening.
Ooh, I like that too.
Me too.
Let's go back to LeBron James. White people gave us LeBron James as a speaker. I mean, as a leader. As a leader. Because when?
Did I miss it? Did I miss something?
When?
When did LeBron James become a leader?
The same way your boy became a leader. What's his name? Ja Rule. When Ja Rule was, they was going to Ja Rule asking him for political advice. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Wow. Woo.
You know,
Really, I have been under a rock.
Right.
So, Rich, wait a minute. So, Rich says, Black leaders are consistently assassinated. Our men need to step up, lead their families, and build wealth. And then Ike says, look what LeBron is doing in his community in Ohio.
I disagree with that, Ike, but you know, I think LeBron's name is a front. You know what I'm saying? I think they're using his name to push the agenda. You know, I don't think athletes are our leaders.
No one from Hollywood, no one who already has fame is really going to be a suitable leader for persons of color because they're already sold out and sold into a system that doesn't benefit us. So I don't think that any of them could ever lead us into positive change.
Right.
So he says LeBron is building schools, paying college tuition, building group homes. We're not disagreeing with that, but as far as a leader that can really make change for us, I don't see that being him.
Right.
And so Frank says, why do you think Farrakhan is a true leader for us? Mm-hmm. And Ike says, stop hating on LeBron, brother.
Let's address Frank first.
Okay.
I'm not saying that Farrakhan is a true leader for us, right? What I am saying is that Farrakhan has always had the gumption or the heart to be the one that spoke out against white supremacy, the state of black people, even more than Cornel West, Tavis Smiley. You know, I look at Farrakhan in the same way in terms of his position that I looked at Malcolm, that I looked at Martin Luther King, and even Khalid Muhammad. You know, not saying that I agree with everything that Farrakhan said, because I don't. But I'm just saying in terms of someone who is there and who's speaking on our behalf. You know, because right now, and not that we need anyone to speak on our behalf, we can do that ourselves. We can advocate for ourselves. But in terms of having that one person, we don't have those people anymore. And once Farrakhan crosses over, transitions, who's going to be, you know, our spokesperson? Not that we're looking for one, but then again, maybe we are, because we've been conditioned to always have a leader. And I'm not hating on LeBron.
So Rich says that he's a good example, but not a leader.
Okay, I agree with that. That's fair.
Okay. Yep. All right. Well,
Hold up. You know, how you gonna say Umar? I mean, and no disrespect to Umar Johnson. You know what I'm saying? But everyone's not going to receive Umar. Number one, everyone didn't receive Farrakhan as well. But on a stage as big as the one that Farrakhan has and Malcolm had, these were people that when you heard their name, white folks trembled. You know what I'm saying? Even black folks trembled. I think we have Chef Todd.
our leaders will not have an easy road at making change simply because if a black man don't agree, he won't follow you, period. If they feel they have a better idea, they'll never support you fully, and that leads to division.
Correct. Which goes back to what we talked about earlier and saying how things have happened to us where we've been separated. The word is fed, F-E-D, fear, envy, distrust. This is something that's been given. We fear, we're envious of one another, and we distrust one another. And the thing about it is, why? So did the characteristics come first, or did the framework come first? If you understand what I'm saying, you know, were we born just to, oh, that's a black person, you know what, I don't trust him. Here's something, and I'm gonna shut up for the next 2 seconds. If your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, all right, I give you no geographical information, location whatsoever. If your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, and 20 miles in one direction are white people, and 20 miles in another direction are black people, where are you going for help?
You're asking us to respond?
Anybody can respond. I'm anybody, you know, because it's going to prove my point. Because I've heard many black people say, I ain't going to black people because they ain't going to help you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to do that. They going to steal from me. It's like, where did you get that from? You know what I'm saying? But then you'll go to white people, right? And they are known to kill black people. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, so where did you get this from? Yeah, that's a question.
So Ike says, I haven't heard any female names as a leader for us. I think our next leader will be a woman. And then Frank says, Farrakhan is leading people to Scientology. He's about business, not us. Khalid Muhammad was the truth. That's why Farrakhan and the white Jews got rid of him. Farrakhan is playing under those folks' table, just like Jesse and Sharpton.
He's right.
I agree with that.
And Frank says, bruh, that question, really?
Yes.
And then Aubrey says, I'm going to the hood. Todd says, but that was bred into us via slavery. Dog eat dog mentality, survival of the fittest. And then Frank says, those aren't real black people.
All right, uh-oh. Let's go back. Let's go back to 442. Ike says, I haven't heard of any female names as leaders for us. I think our next great leader will be a woman. Who?
I'm getting behind Tamika Mallory. I love that chick. I really do.
Okay.
As a spokeswoman, I agree. As an organizer and galvanizer, I gotta give Stacey Abrams her props.
Yes, yes.
No, what did she do? Yeah.
She turned Georgia blue.
Man, black people can't turn Georgia blue. Come on, now. Man. Listen. You believe that?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I mean, I believe that she helped a lot. I think she opened a lot of black people's eyes.
Watch the position that she gets. Watch the position she gets in the next couple of years. She's headed to the DNC as a leader in the DNC. Black people can't turn Georgia blue.
Okay. So, Chef says most of our leaders are about business, always a hidden agenda.
Can we hold on? Stop. Based on what he just said, can we say my phrase?
Oh yes.
Y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
You ready? Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5.
Oh yeah.
All about money. Ain't a damn
thing funny.
You gotta have a
con and it's land looking nothing.
Yeah.
I like Chef Todd, man.
So Ike says, would we accept a woman as a leader? He says, yes, Stacey. And then he says, stop minimizing what Stacey was able to do. Historic, bruh.
She didn't do anything, man. She didn't do anything.
So here, can I suggest this? Like, I don't think that there's any leader, Malcolm and Martin included, that were above reproach. You know, I think all of our leaders are human and they are flawed. That's not to dismiss people who have other motives. But I would rather wait and see how this plays out before I just throw her on the boat. I don't think that Stacey and Kamala are in the same. For me, they're not in the same boat. You know, I'd like to see how it plays out. I'm not looking to Stacey Abrams or I'm not personally looking to Stacey Abrams or any other leader for my personal salvation, right? But I do think that as a people, we have to find ways to unite. Chef Todd said it earlier. The thing that hinders us most is our division. And love this book. I'm gonna plug it one more time because he talks about that in the book. You know, regardless of your religious beliefs, your political, who you ascribe to politically, like Black folk need to just come together around the table, agree to disagree about certain things, but choose to agree about what's important. And that's moving an agenda forward that will benefit Black people. So I don't know. I think we can sit here all day and talk. There's some people I definitely wouldn't want at my table. There's some people I would say are a little sus, but I wouldn't be quick to dismiss them without some concrete evidence.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yolanda gonna whip your butt. She was like, damn it, give Stacey her damn credit.
Remember this, February 11th. Remember this. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be like, he was right.
Okay, so Chef Todd says, and then there's politics. Soon as politics come into play, everything goes to crap. If we never listen to Garvey, what makes us think any leader will be followed? As Todd says, my opinion, our next leader hasn't been born yet. Mm-hmm. And then Ike says, you say what you did. You say what did Stacey do? I say what did Farrakhan do? Okay. Sound like somebody wants to debate you, bruh.
Ike, I'm calling you after this. Ike's an elder, so I gotta, he's an elder. But,
so wait a minute. For those that are pro Stacey, please comment what you think Stacey did. I want to hear what their thoughts are. So go ahead. Please go. Okay.
Even historically, our leaders didn't agree. One of the first poems I learned as a kid in school was the poem about Booker T and W.E.B. They disagreed on a lot of things. And I think we have to be comfortable with the disagreement and just commit to working together around the things, the points that matter, and figure out who shouldn't be at the table, because everybody shouldn't be.
Okay, I got one. You know who should not have been at, who should not be at the table?
Who's that?
Messy Jesse.
Oh, I think we all agree with that.
You got my agreement on that one.
Yeah.
So Yolanda says, I don't think there's going to be a leader. Stop looking for one person. It's going to take a movement, many collaborations. I agree.
Mhm.
And Rich says, Stacey is a politician. No more.
No more. Watch this. I wrote a note. You know what it says? Can't see it, can you?
Nope. Wait.
Black people did not turn Georgia blue. Let me tell you why that's an insult when they say that.
Okay.
So what are you now saying? That this is the first time that black people voted?
No.
Right. It's not. Black people did not turn Georgia blue, because the problem that I have is that when white politicians like Hillary did not get elected, you know what they said? Had y'all went out and voted, black people did vote. You know what I'm saying? Had black people voted, so therefore now Georgia turns blue. How does Georgia ever turn blue? One of the most racist places you can ever go to. This is a plan. So therefore, and look, they put Stacey in a position to be the one, and they give her all the kudos. That's not how it works. Because what you're saying is that for the first time, black people came out and voted. That is not true. I think more black people voted for Barack Hussein Obama than they did anybody. Right? Come on. Nah, I disagree.
Georgia has been right with voter suppression for decades. Stacey was able to relieve the voter suppression, brother. I don't think. Okay, I don't disagree with that. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that she was able to, I won't say relieve all of the voter suppression, but some of it. Is he really calling him right now?
I'm calling him right now.
Cheese and crackers. I can't hang up the phone, Les.
You can't hang him in the middle of a ring. It's rude.
You are not about to debate this live.
I'm not going to debate him. I'm letting him know that I'm going to be calling him back after this.
Oh my gosh. You already said that you was going to call him.
I want everybody to see this.
You're probably not even going to answer.
He's not going to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Don't answer, Ike.
Yeah, what's it? Voicemail.
I cannot believe he is doing it. Excuse him, y'all.
So I do want to say that Georgia turning blue, I don't think was so much about black people voting or black people not voting in prior elections. I do think that there's definitely there are numbers that support that there were black people who turned out for this election that hadn't in previous elections. But Biden won Georgia by a very small margin. So
11,779.
This wasn't some big thing that happened. Either way, I think it's important to galvanize people. The important thing is, what are you galvanizing them around? But I think the ability to be able to do that, it's important in us being able to identify who our leaders are. Like someone said, if you're a leader and you're talking but nobody's listening, then you're not quite a leader. I'd be curious to hear or to see where her trajectory goes, what path she takes, and whether she is a complete sellout or whether she uses the energy that she was able to generate to better our people. But I wouldn't dismiss it.
Okay.
Because it's currency. Getting people to pay attention to you, getting people to listen to you and hear you, it's currency. And if she can use that currency to our benefit, then I'm all for it.
Yolanda says what Stacey did was years of work behind the scenes getting people registered. Not this one election. No, I don't think she's our leader. Just give people credit for their work. So I'm asking you, Lester, you don't think that she did anything? You don't think that she helped in any way?
I'm not saying that she didn't do anything. What I'm saying is that
I think that's directed at you, Elena. What do you think could possibly galvanize blacks? But go ahead, let's finish your thing, and then we'll come back to Richard's statement.
I think she's been given too much credit, right? For this. This is bigger than black people. And I think black people now are being, I don't like to use the word used. I like the word utilized. Okay. Okay. But I'm going to use the word used for this. I think black people are being used now, right? More than ever. The same things that we're doing now, the same things that we were doing then, right? LeBron is no different than Wilt Chamberlain, right? Dr. J. Okay? To me, when you start talking about black female leaders, Fannie Lou Hamer, right? Shirley Chisholm. Our ancestor who died a couple of years ago, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, right? These people were at grassroots level and they didn't get this much hype and attention. And they were talking things which were of more substance than what Stacey Abrams is talking about now. No disrespect to her. Props given where props are deserved. And if she is the one, if I'm wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. But if she was the one that was going out and going from door to door to door to door, cool. But if she's not, then, this has nothing to do with it. Black people have been doing this shit for decades. They're now just getting the props. They're being positioned. And if you don't believe me, why is it that Kamala Harris is the vice president? You mean to tell me Joe Biden, Mr. Crime Bill himself, you know what I'm saying? Thanks, baby. Mr. Crime Bill himself couldn't have found a white vice president? No, because everybody know with this whole thing that's going on in terms of interracial relationships, you gotta have a black vice president because it's going to draw out more black people. I'm not taking anything away from Stacey Abrams, but I'm not giving her nothing that she doesn't deserve. Because as I think it was Chef Todd, as someone said earlier, hell, if they didn't listen to Marcus Garvey, if you didn't listen to Malcolm, and the biggest thing that Malcolm had over Farrakhan was that Malcolm was a great organizer and mobilizer. What's so different? And if they're not talking the same things that Malcolm was talking about. Malcolm was talking truth. He spoke truth to power. He didn't play. He didn't play the politics game, even to his own demise.
Okay, so
I need to breathe.
So I think this is directed at you, Elena. What do you think could possibly galvanize blacks? But then we have some more comments. So Teresa?
Yeah, that's my buddy Deshaun's wife.
Okay. Stacey brought national attention to voter suppression.
Oh, don't have me call her too. Oh my goodness.
Stop. And it says, how can black people want people to recognize what is going on and still be told they get too much attention? Pick one. Ooh. So then Todd says, any black person with a political party promotes or endorses or gives kudos to is handpicked and put there for purposes strictly to work in accordance with their agenda and secret plan. And I don't believe anything different.
See.
Let Elena breathe, child.
That's why I like him.
That's
why I like him.
Let Elena answer this question. Sister, what do you think could possibly galvanize blacks?
I think a lot of things can and have galvanized us. I think can we be galvanized is not the question. I think it's what do we do with the potential after having been galvanized? The death of George Floyd was a galvanizing moment. All of these deaths in our recent past were moments that have galvanized people to not only protest, but for a lot of people to read more, to research more, to understand the issues more, to read their history. So I think that it's currency to be used. I do think that sometimes these galvanizing moments are intended to be weapons used against us. I do think that sometimes these things are placed into our atmosphere to manipulate our emotions and kind of trick us into protest, and it dies out, and then we're good again because we feel like we've made some small strides. So that notwithstanding, I think that it's currency. Having people's ear, it's currency. And I agree with Les. Everything that's being said isn't worth being heard. But if you can find that moment where the galvanization of people meets with a message that is really designed to help our people, I think that's a great thing. But those things have to come together, because there are lots of leaders in our local communities who are saying the right things, who are speaking truth to power, who are about it, who have a heart, who are integral, people of integrity and character. But those are not going to be the people who have a large audience. At some point, the movement, yes, it's grassroots, but it also has to be bigger. It's a yes and, it's not a either or. And so I don't have all the answers, but I do know that we do need people in the political arena, whether they're moles or they're just lying to get there to do something later on, to surprise all the white people who put them there. I don't know what you want to call it, but we have to have a voice, not only in American politics, but we need geopolitical power. And I am not absolved to think that white men are so smart that they will always subvert and subjugate us. I think that it's a tall order, but I think that there are people who are smart enough, if we're able to unify, to really get the job done. I don't believe that white men will always have the upper hand.
So Ike says, I think Leslie's issue with Stacey has to do with what I asked earlier. Can we get behind and support a Black woman in leadership positions? Truth be told, men have a hard time following women.
Y'all waiting on me to comment on that?
I think that you wanted to comment on, how do you say her name? Teresa?
Toriessa. I call it Teresa.
Okay, Toriessa. Okay, I want to pronounce it correctly. And Rich says, hold on. No one without a seat at the table or a table of their own has a geopolitical voice.
Right. Now, back to what Ike said. First of all, Ike, you put my whole name out there. Let me give you a little history right quick, right? Growing up, Ike was feared. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's not that I have a problem supporting women.
Thank you, Rich. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem supporting women at all. I was a big fan of, and will always be a big fan of, I just mentioned her name, Dr. Cresswell,
okay.
Right? And to me, she was a leader in the community. For you guys who haven't read, the ISIS papers, I think when it comes down to it, it's just the way it was done. Here we go. I got it. Just came to me.
Okay. I'm ready to hear. I'm listening. What's up?
The church people would say, "Thank you, Holy Ghost." Here's what it is. Remember, we talked about this a long time ago. Remember on the Cosby Show when Vanessa brought home Dabney, who was a great guy, right? Mm-hmm. But there was history between Dabney and Vanessa that her family didn't know about. And all of a sudden, they're sitting at the table, and Cliff goes into this little story. The way Dabney was presented to the family was a well was a 5-course meal delivered on a garbage pail, right?
Okay.
Doesn't matter how appealing it is, it's garbage. The way in which they put Stacey out there like that, she's the one that turned Georgia blue. That's a lot of pressure. Too much pressure. Because in order for you to agree to do something like that and to be a pawn for something like that, that means you got something in return. Malcolm, in my opinion, even greater than Martin or Farrakhan, spoke integrity at all times. So when someone like, all of a sudden, you turn on the TV tomorrow and I've been promoted to work in Joe Biden's cabinet. I don't have the credentials for that. You guys would say, if he can do it, and anybody can do it. So it's not about not supporting leaders, women. It's about BS. Do I think Kamala Harris is the one? No, I don't. I do not. I think Betty Shabazz was great. Martin Luther King's Coretta Scott King was great.
Amen to that.
You understand what I'm saying? They weren't out there, see me, you know what I'm saying? This is what I've done. No. All right, I'm finished.
Okay, so
we need to be talking to these people.
Todd says, I don't care if it's a woman, man, animal, etc. who's leading. Give me someone competent and untampered with, but I guess that's like a damn unicorn. And Rich says, ego stops people from playing their role. If a woman is better suited to lead in a particular lane, she should lead. Eurocentric misogyny doesn't serve Black folk. And Todd says, pawn, keyword. And Ike says, Nobel Prize recipients can handle pressure. Pressure makes diamonds. And then for their time, they were great.
Right. Can you go back to what Teresa said? She right after real men don't have a problem following women. That's true.
Who said that? Teresa said that?
No. Rich said that.
Okay.
Said, oh, I'm sorry, bro. And then Teresa said, that's not how it's pronounced. Leslie knows. See, there she go. Okay. Okay, Chef Todd said.
Oh, I'm sorry. We saw that when they elected a Black man over a white woman. And then, we have someone new, Deshaun Thomas. Welcome, Deshaun.
That's my man right there.
Hey, Deshaun.
That's Teresa's husband. Get your peoples, man.
There seems to be a movement that is using women of color to push an agenda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, agreed, but when do we come to a place where we start to use their agenda against them? Can we turn the tables? It's obvious that a great deal of the work has to be done outside of their system. But I think that is twofold. There's work that also, because we live in their system, there are also things that have to be done there as well. So can we turn the tables?
I don't think we can. Everyone has always studied Skinner's rat, right? Who's the rat?
Rich says, whose agenda? Mm-hmm. And then Yolanda says, using, interesting word. And Deshaun says, yes, if we stop grabbing for power and work together. But can we work together is the question.
Right, but yeah, but hold on, before we get into that, I would like to see how Elaine is going to respond to the question that was asking, whose agenda?
Oh, Rich.
Todd says, nope, you can't turn the tables. It's their table.
Whose agenda? That's a great question. I think that there are a lot of agendas. I don't believe that there is one sole or singular agenda. I do, however, believe there's a dominant agenda. And I think that agenda comes from a small group of old world white families that run the world.
Well, I think that the dominant agenda is power.
I think the dominant agenda is world domination. I think that the dominant agenda is going to see America become less of a superpower.
Mm.
I think the dominant agenda will see the fall of the dollar, the American dollar.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I don't know. The dominant agenda, that's an interesting conversation. But at the end, it's just all about world domination and power. And it's bigger than America.
Yeah.
So Rich says, no, blacks can't turn the table of capitalism. We need our own table. The dominant agenda is power. See, I think so too, Todd. And then Yolanda says, so should we never take a seat, never accept a position? Where are the black tables?
Okay, let me jump in with Yolanda's question right quick. Right?
Okay. Mhm.
So should we never take a seat? Right?
Mhm.
During the bus boycott, right? Black people refused to ride that bus. And when they refused to ride the bus, you saw what happened.
Mhm.
You know, should black people, you can take it down. Should black people take a seat? If you're taking a seat at their table, you've compromised.
That
You've
kind of
compromised.
that kind of goes into what Rich just said. A black table doesn't exist; it must be built.
Correct. You've compromised. Because let's go back to it. Why do we call Jesse Jackson, or why do some people call Jesse Jackson Messy Jesse? What was, Elena, you got something to say?
But the brother is compromised. Great.
Compromise, right. You know, I mean, let's go back to what happened. You know, there was, for those who are familiar with Brother Steve Coakley, who's an ancestor man, you got to check him out. You know, and as he stated, there was an argument in the hotel between Jesse Jackson and Martin Luther King about wearing a necktie, because Martin wasn't going to wear a necktie. Martin Luther King wasn't going to wear a necktie. The key sentence and phrase was, the friendlies would not be wearing ties. Okay? Why is it that after Martin Luther King was assassinated, Jesse Jackson becomes our leader? He compromised. Going back to what the brother said earlier with Khalid Muhammad, you know, who took him out? Because Khalid Muhammad did not compromise. For if you guys have ever watched him, he's no joke. He's relentless. He's Farrakhan times 20. You know, he's gone. Steve Coakley is gone. Dr. Martin Luther King was gone, because even Dr. King recognized that, you know, he was the one to a certain degree that ushered us into the firing squad. And when he began to retract and realize, he's like, oh man, I think I've done my folks a great disservice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to the point that the brother made earlier about Farrakhan leading black people into Scientology. I've read that, you know. Anytime a black leader lives as long as Farrakhan has lived and no hurt, harm, and dangers come upon him and he ain't dead yet, you got to be a part of this system.
That's powerful. So Todd says, now we got to take a seat. Can you stop a tank by throwing rocks or screaming, or get in that thing and ride?
Mm-hmm.
And Deshaun says, you only compromise if you sit at the table with the intention of fitting in. And then Todd says, they will never let us build our own table, so we need to take theirs. And you take by first sitting at it, no compromise. Ike says, deep. And then Rich says, you want permission from your adversary to do what's best for you. I don't. A lot of different thoughts in here today. I'm loving this.
I'm ready to build a table though. Like, you know, look, I love these conversations, but there's a part of me that really just wants to be a part of a change. Like, at some point it's like, do we stop talking about it? How do we really, how do we start to move the needle, you know, to really, really, really move the needle? And I have another question. I pose this to you guys and anybody who's watching. If Black people are such a non-threat, then why are we always neutralized? Is there something that they know about us that we don't? If we're such a non-threat, why not just let us live? What is the point of continually subjugating us? Is it just power? Because they don't do this to all ethnic groups. Why us? Is it because we're so weak, or is there a fear of something that we don't yet understand?
I'm gonna say this. I think that the Black man is the original man. I think the Black man is God, and I'm not coming from a 5%ers perspective either.
I think that it's fear. I think that they fear us, and I think that they know that we are intelligent, and part of it is the fact that they don't want to lose power. They don't want, retribution for the things that they've done, so they want to keep us suppressed. Because if you really let us shine, there's no stopping us. And I think that they see that. The problem is that I don't think that we see that in ourselves. Let me read, because we got comments coming left and right.
No, before you read that, Ken said he had to go. You know
okay, Ken. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, man, we don't need you no more, man. We come looking for you.
So Deshaun says, if the goal is to infiltrate and conform, then you have not compromised. You have used one of their tools as your own and started to create your own plan. And then Ike says, you're of a Black planet system. And then, okay, see you, Ken. And Todd says, and that is why we can't build our own table, is fear. And Ike says, white woman, Black man, Black baby, and vice versa. But I really think that it is fear, because like Les says, it goes back to slavery. I mean, think about what would have happened back then if we had been educated, if they would have taught us to read. We would have realized that what they were like, we already knew it was wrong, but we really would have realized that it was wrong. And go ahead.
I'm doing some genealogy work. I want to kind of research the history of my family. I'm from South Carolina, and I have to tell you one thing that I found in my research the other day that really stunned me was that at the height of slavery, Black people outnumbered white people something ridiculous like 4 or 5 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if all of those Black people could have, I mean, literally, they could have just overpowered by sheer numbers, but in their minds, I'm sure, because they were kept siloed, you're on your plantation, your life doesn't go beyond your plantation. You don't know, they didn't know that. But just, I think that there's so many ways in which we are mentally shackled that we don't really realize the power that we have. What if those people just started fighting? What if they recognized how outnumbered the white people were? Would they have still accepted that same fate?
I would hope not, but the whites were very strategic in keeping us, apart from each other so that we couldn't, hence us being uneducated, not knowing numbers and things of that nature. So, I mean, you had the ones like, Harriet Tubman that was like, bump this, we out. But if you had more of those, if you had more Harriet Tubmans that wanted to rise up and overtake the slave masters, I think we would be in a very different place right now. So it was, you know, the way it was designed to keep us uneducated was not by mistake, because I think that they knew that we would eventually figure it out.
Before we get into the comments, I got to say something.
Yes.
All right, because I want to get into the comments. If people are taking the time out to comment, I definitely want to, you know, give them their props. Have you ever heard the statement, leave it better than the way you found it?
Mm-hmm.
Who came up with that?
I don't know.
Who do you think? Who comes up with everything, right? I mean, do you think a black person came up with that?
I don't know.
Because when we were encountered, were we left better than we were when they found us?
Oh, absolutely not.
Right? Okay, number one. And I'm speaking to what you said about, all right, peace, Ike, I got you. I'm speaking to what you said about when you know, in slavery it was 4-1. Black people were outnumbered, right? 4-1, right? And go back to where you have a 12-year-old white boy, little white boy, that's talking to a black man that's bigger than Jack Johnson and is directing him and giving him orders, right? So they say that black people are gentle giants, right? They say we are nice people. Don't they say that all the time? We are nice people.
Docile.
Nice. If anyone on listening can give the etymology of the word nice, we'll send you out 2 Black Spasm buttons. That's the only thing I want to say. What does the word nice have to do with black people? All right, now we can start reading the comments.
You read these because I'm tired of reading. Go ahead.
That in a global economy that is based on capitalism, the needle gets moved by building wealth, individual assets and collective assets, which affords the ability to deploy lobbyists to push our agenda. I like the way he thinks. Equals our own table. He's right. Elena, if anybody want to jump in, comment. Ike said yes in the South. He was talking to about what you said earlier. Teresa said, so can this be our Amistad? Ooh, anybody?
Give us free.
Give us free.
I'm Christian. I'm a minister, and I believe that the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force.
Okay.
So I'm with it.
All right. Deshaun says everything from our dollar to our mind could make this country crumble. If we can solidify, the game is over. Look at how everything is directed to keeping us complacent.
Absolutely.
There is a fear of us uprising and overthrowing. Everyone from Nike to KFC is spending big bucks to make sure that we are happy enough to run out and buy their products, which are such an important part of the fabric of society that there is a fear of what we can do. We are the only race of people that can step foot on any continent. Is that right?
I guess so.
Okay.
As it stopped. So
it stopped.
So Deshaun says, "Can I answer?" And then, okay, yeah, you guys can answer. Go ahead and answer. They want to answer. Go ahead and answer.
Some 7 energy people, man.
Oh, okay. So, hey, Cuzzo.
What's up? How you doing?
Good.
Welcome
to the show. So everybody,
Thank
this
you.
is
Thank
Kyle.
you. Sorry I'm late. Work calls sometime.
This is my cousin Kyle, everybody.
Come on, Kyle.
Les, good to see you, bro.
Likewise, man.
So ask Kyle the question. Les.
What question?
The question you just asked everybody else.
Oh, about the word nice?
Yes.
Yeah, please. Anyone can answer that question. And the question was, you know, we were talking. Elena is doing her genealogy, and she was saying that. Elena, you can tell. You know, about.
I was just saying at the height of slavery in South Carolina, white people were outnumbered like 4 or 5 to 1. Mm-hmm. So what was it that kept people from uprising? Like why?
Right.
So
when they were actually in the majority. Yeah.
And I was just saying that we are not and black, and we are considered nice people or gentle giants, you know, and everywhere you go. But if you don't understand the etymology of the word nice, you know, then you'll use it all the time. And Deshaun just popped it. Anybody else, you know,
nice equals retarded.
it equals retarded or ignorant or stupid.
No, I mean, I think that we are loving people. So we don't come, we're first of all communal, so we're tribal, but we're loving people. So I don't think that we are looking to conquer or looking to amass as much land, power, money in our roots. So if that makes us loving, if that makes us nice, I think that's a part of who we are as melanated people. But that doesn't mean that we won't defend ours. That doesn't mean that we won't protect our young women and children. But I think that we should look at things with more skepticism than we do. So we can't just be as accepting. I think a prime example is the chicken sandwich from Popeyes. And it's that simple that advertising and a little bit of word to mouth to mouth. This chicken sandwich is good. We jump on it. We'll jump off it just as quick, but we're very accepting if the mass goes with it. So that can be to our detriment at times, and I think part of that's the reason that we are too nice or too accepting, because first of all, we have self-hatred. So we're very susceptible to anyone else's, to anyone else's, let's say, idea of the day or their magic. So if you don't like exactly who you are, who your mate is, and you are taught to self-hate, then any other race can come in and kind of mystify you. And I think that since we have that construct, especially the African Americans, Black people, indigenous people to this country, since we have that, I guess, history, and I think that gives us this perception of being nice. But then if you look at society, how can a Black man go out and act as a white man? A Black man can't do the things that a white man did on January 6th. They know they wouldn't make it to the door before they're eliminated.
If he wants to live, he can't.
Right.
Right.
So we can't be the most horrific person as a mass, because we know it will be eliminated that much more quickly. So I think we're a lot more evil to ourselves because that's easier. Black on Black crime is easier than Black on white crime. They're going to find out who killed the white person. They may not necessarily find out who killed the Black person. Yeah. So I think that's the inherent problem, that we don't love each other enough, but we are very accepting to, other great ideas outside the race, almost like the white man's ice is always colder than the Black man's.
Okay, so Teresa, I don't know. I'm saying Miss Thomas. She says ignorant.
Talking about the word, the etymology.
And right, so Rich says nice equals agreeable, i.e., yes, Master Charlie. And Deshaun says most people prefer to look at what is presented to them in the outstretched hand and never worry about the clenched hand behind the back. Miss Thomas says ignorant, lacking of knowledge or awareness. Chef Todd says, we are not a loving people. I totally disagree. We are a docile people because of the years of mind controlling. We need to be more conscious. We've been taught to be nice, to accept, to accepting and everything else because the alternate is death. And Melanie says, hey, Val, welcome back.
Welcome back. I mean, some interesting points here.
Very much so.
I mean, it's a lot. I mean, and not saying like we can't get to it. I mean, it's like now people say, well, you go to somebody's house and you know they got a dirty house and you don't want to eat there. It's like, what, it's just too much food. I'm gonna take it home. Nah, I'm just saying there's a lot of good stuff in here. And once again, we're talking about the state of Black people outside of white supremacy. And I think we're doing a good job by not going back to, well, it's because of white people. We know that. Or it's because of enslavement. We know that. But Chef Todd said something that's quite interesting. He said, we are not a loving people, right?
The only people we don't love is each other.
So, well, if you can't love yourself, how can you love each other? You know what I'm saying? Anybody else. And you're right. And you said earlier that, we will protect our children. But the thing that we've been hearing last year was Black men don't protect Black women. I thought that was an opportunity for other societies to attack the Black male, Black female family and structure. Yeah, there have been times in which Black men have dropped the ball and vice versa. I think what we should be saying is that instead of saying, well, Black men don't protect Black women, because I know Black men have lost their lives for their families, protecting their wives. It's that we're not supporting and protecting one another. Like Malcolm said, we do not air our dirty laundry out in public, but we're putting it out there. We're a Black man. And when you hear another Black woman say, Black men need to respect Black women, to me, there's a problem. We need to pull that inside and talk about it. We don't need to put that out there.
That's fair.
So Deshaun says, no need to the destruction of the Black male and Black female dynamic has already been done.
Going back to what Chef Todd said, I agree. We're not a loving people, but what we are is a traumatized people. And I think that because of that trauma, we are easily manipulated if we don't act out of our higher selves. We're just easily manipulated, and we even become participants in our own genocide. To Leslie's point, there's a lot of work that kind of has to be done almost before we can build a table. There's a lot of work that has to be done in the house to rectify a lot of the things that we're dealing with. But one thing we are is easily manipulated, and it's kind of time for us to kind of wake up and open our eyes, see with new eyes.
I think we need to have a foundation before we can build the table and the house, and I don't think that we have a foundation right now.
Right, and that's the problem. It's 2021. We're talking about foundation. You know what I'm saying?
But why are we easily manipulated, Lana? Why do you believe that?
Well, I think that part of it is because of the trauma that we've endured over time. I don't think that this is who we have necessarily always been, but we've been manipulated. I think we've been beaten. Someone spoke about it. For us, we realized speaking truth to power. Like, if you're really speaking truth to power, it's you live where you die. We've been pushed, coerced, and manipulated into these ways of behaving. I mean, it's kind of like, I can't wait to see that movie. I think it's called The Black Messiah, about the Black Panthers. And, what does it take for a Black man to sell out another Black man who is working to further his people? Like what could they, Jesse Jackson, what could they really offer you that would make you want to sell out Martin?
Right.
You know,
or what do they have on you?
Right. One of those.
Or what can they do to you? I mean, because it doesn't necessarily, you don't ever have to be guilty. They can always create a case for anything. So you can always, we're always at a position of I don't want to say inferiority, but we're playing from 3 steps behind. So I think what can make Jesse sell out Martin is, first of all, the wanting to be him, to supersede him.
The promise, if he goes, that you can be him.
You're the next heir apparent, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever comes with that.
And that's sickening.
But let's go back.
That's a broken mentality. Why would you even?
Well, I would say that I think within certain people there could be a hint of jealousy or envy. You know, I'm not saying that when Black people were created, we were created not to, you know, want something that someone else had. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because a lot of times you see, it's like, you know, you see a brand new iPhone sitting on the desk and no one's around you, right? And then there's that voice that says, go ahead and take it. You can have it. You've always wanted one. But then the voice of reason comes in and says, yo, that's not yours. It's not right. You know, but if you're erring to the side of go ahead and take it, you know, then over a period of time, you're going to start committing more to being jealous. And you know, abusing power and taking and wanting to be something that you're not, you know. And I think with Jesse, it was a thing where this is who you could be. It goes back to Elena, correct me if I'm wrong. It goes back to after the fast that Jesus was on for 40 days. You know what I'm saying? And his encounter with Satan, the devil. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I give you anything you want. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, nah, you know, you can't do that to me because that's not where I am. That's not where Jesse was. You know, and I'll say this. If you listen carefully, you hear this boomerang sound that's coming back and it's getting louder and louder and louder, right? Where's Jesse Jackson now?
And on that note, I'm going to read what Todd said. He says, yes, exactly, traumatized. We've been fed a steady diet of look the other way, turn the other cheek, kill them with kindness. Are you serious? Especially when everything whites have, they took by force and violence. Hence January 6th. They are well aware of the atrocities they've committed, and they are highly fearful of us doing the same to them as a result of what they've done to us. Exactly, Todd. I mean, I kind of that's kind of what I was saying, you know, okay, get off. You know, I kind of said that earlier to when Elena was talking about, I forgot my brain. I forgot what I was getting ready to say. I forgot my point. I'm sorry. I'm scatterbrain today.
One of the reasons I said that we were a loving people is to that very statement that he just made, that we, if you want to call it docile, if you want to call it submissive, you could call it, you choose any word that you like, but we're easily duped. We are, I guess, a slave to a trend, or especially the younger population in our community is a slave to whatever is in the masses. And then in that way, other races are able to manipulate us. So I attribute that as loving, but you don't have to necessarily say loving. You could say docile, you could say submissive, you could say
Gullible,
inferior, because we come from that position and we don't pick Black first. We don't even think that way. Let me see who designed this. I'm wearing a Ralph shirt, so I know a Black person didn't design it, because that's not the top of our consciousness kind of globally. So it's the love is the love of either what's rich, what's respected, what is thought of as quality, whether that's to our detriment, like a blood diamond, or our people's detriment. we don't care here in America. We want what is it is to want. So that might have been misconstrued as love, a loving person, or a love, but it's more accepting, more adaptable, because our existence here, especially since call it 1619, has had to be adaptable to slavery, adaptable to Jim Crow, adaptable to whatever situation we are in to survive. And we couldn't go around with a hate type of mentality. You can call the Black Panthers what you want. As the outside, we know that it was to feed the young. It was to protect our communities from the police and bad police encounters. We know why it was started in Oakland in 1966, but the way it was looked at from the outside is that like it was the Klan. The Klan is a hate group. We can't afford, and we could not even sustain a Black hate group in America because they would be eliminated, like the Panthers were eliminated, and they weren't even such a group.
It goes back to what we've been talking about. Black Panthers were all about Black power. I think that's why they were neutralized, not because they were seen as a hate group. White people knew they weren't a hate group. The thing that they feared was Black power. And you know, I think that us as a people, you had not just us as a people, as a person, just take it personal, Elaine and me. I have to be traumatized. I have to be out of my mind to act against my own self. And, you know, that's what our people continually do. We're acting against ourselves. We are self-inflicting harm. You can't tell me that there is not something wrong with us. Something that needs healing, requires us to elevate our consciousness, understanding, you know, move beyond being so easily manipulated and controlled and being so mercurial. Something is wrong with us, because a person in their right mind would not harm themselves. Some of the things that Black people do to ourselves, if we were an individual, they would put us in an institution, because that is not normal. It is not normal to not love yourself. You know, I think the sad thing is that our trauma and our insanity has been normalized, as if this is the way things are supposed to be. This is the way we're supposed to live. These are the things that we should just readily accept. But I don't know.
But how can some of us love ourselves if we've never been taught to love ourselves?
Les, you quiet.
Always quiet.
So Todd says that that's not love, that's assimilation.
Mm-hmm. I think that there's a song by KRS-One. It's called "Love Is Gonna Get You." And he's like, "You love that girl, you love that car." We find love in a lot of material things because we don't really own anything. So in the 70s, the pimp, the player that people looked up to, and let's say Black male boys looked up to, is because of the Cadillac. It's because of the clothes. We wear our value. We're not creating jobs and opportunity. So when a Bob Johnson buys BET, he then sells it to Viacom. So it is a Black company until it's not. And that's almost like the creation of the Black Panthers until they eliminated them. So they're going to find a way to Tulsa anything that is prosperous and Black. And I say Tulsa it because of the race riots in 1921 or 20, because they're either going to eliminate you through buying you, or they're going to eliminate you through death or violence. And the statement that was made earlier, that's the only thing that they respect is either minimizing their finances in some way or direct violence. It's the only two things. And we don't use those routes to create change. And I think over the past summer, we've seen that even our white brothers and sisters in these marches have been more courageous in creating change through violence, through destruction, than we have been through our, let's call it 50 years of civil rights, nonviolent protesting. There was more done over this summer when kids are walking through police stations that have been burnt out, things that I've never seen before. So there's
not to rudely cut you off, but I just throw it out there. Have with all of this that's going on, have we as a race of people been prostituted?
Of course. We were in zoos in New York City in 1920.
Okay.
We were in zoos in Belgium at the turn of the century 1905. We're in Belgium. What's her name? Bartz. That was basically paraded around Europe because of her body. We have been prostituted. It is almost no way around that fact. I mean, some have been immune to it, but overall, crack, prostitution. I mean, if you charge cocaine and crack differently, the same weight, same intent.
Right. So back, and I got every segment I hit a button that kicks me out. You know what I'm saying? I'm either sliding on my chair or I'm hitting buttons. Right.
So Deshaun says yes, but when those white people committed violence, we were the ones who received the backlash, not the white people.
Right.
And then Rich says therapy. Go ahead.
Let me say that, and the reason why I asked the question, because, you know, have we been prostituted? You know, I always go back to Iceberg Slim, the conversation that was between him and Sweet Jones, and it says, Slim, you can always keep a hoe as long as you keep her confused, right? We have been prostituted and we stay confused.
And we the hoes.
We're the hoes.
Mm-hmm.
We are the biggest. Like even Richard Pryor said, we are black people are the biggest hoes that Hollywood has. You know, and that was when he refused to play a role when he did Mudbone. You know, because there was a position that came out, King Kong. He thought he was going to be playing a position of a king with the last name, a Chinese name of Kong, till he realized that it was some type of ape, right? And he's like, I ain't no monkey, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm not doing it, right? So he said, because we are the biggest hoes Hollywood has. Black people, and I love black people. I've been black all of my life. And
Me too.
You know, but we have to get to a point where we stop being hoes and stop being and getting tricked and being the trick. We are the trick. And the thing about it is, when do we stop being the trick? I forgot her name. She used to be the Attorney General under Bill Clinton. Can anybody, we'll send you a button if anybody can come up with her name.
What's her name? Janet something?
I heard, not the black lady.
Oh, I don't know.
I look down. Okay.
First person to answer gets a button. Go ahead.
This is what she said. She said that people could stop the spread of AIDS if they masturbated. Now, she got kicked to the curb with the quickness. Not Janet Reno. She was a black lady. Mm-hmm. She got kicked to the curb with the quickness because what she said wasn't PC, right? But you can't get AIDS if you masturbate, number one.
Okay, hold up. Janet Reno was his attorney general. Are you talking about Loretta Lynch?
Not attorney general. I'm sorry. The surgeon general. I apologize.
Okay.
The surgeon general.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So what happened was, so what I'm saying is, we don't have to get Jocelyn Elders. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Jocelyn Elders,
We,
yeah.
we need to send you 2 more buttons. Let us know. You know, we don't
They'll
have
be on the road.
right. We don't have to get tricked. We don't have to fall for everything. We didn't have to fall for the Popeyes chicken sandwich or sandwich. We didn't have to fall for it. We don't have to fall for the LeBron James. You know, Ike is gone, so I can talk about LeBron now. We don't have to fall for the Jordans that come out. You know, and if you've driven in the inner city, I don't know how they do it in the suburbs, and you see, okay, all right, thank you. And you see how Black people are lined up outside of Shoe City and Foot Locker for these phone posits and things of that nature. Black people line up for shoes the way white people and Asians and Black people line up for the new iPhone that comes out from Apple.
I guess I'm just weird because I've just never been one to I've never been a materialistic person. So
correct. Right. But see, but and this is what I'm saying. We got to get to a point where we stop going for every gimmick and trick that's out here. I got one for you. Couple months, well, last summer, everyone was doing the wealth building. What do they call it? Elena, I try to get you into it.
A susu.
The susu. Right? For years, the susu has worked. It has worked, and many cultures have used the susu.
Asians, West Indians.
I did well. Okay. And it's like with if you snooze, you lose. At the time that I got into it, we were dealing with a group of people that was on it. What happened after that? Couple weeks into it, the trickery came into it. But people were not doing right, and therefore it left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. What I'm saying is that we need to stop being these hoes out here. You know, we need to stop tricked. What about the white people?
But let's look at Henrietta Lacks.
Okay, I said
Henrietta Lacks cancer cells are being used to this day. We get used and abused here. We don't. Her family knows. You know, there's still no compensation for the for you know what her cells have brought to cancer treatment and what they've learned from her. They didn't incentivize her family. They didn't do anything for her. They didn't do well. Of course, you know she's passed, but even when they acknowledge that they stole these cells and they say, you know, she is the backbone and the break and the cornerstone of how cancer treatment is done currently. That the acknowledgement is all we get. If you understand that the slave owner got reparations once they stopped slavery and you won't get reparations, you'll understand a lot better on how this country works. It's not.
I think we do. I think we do understand it, but it goes back. Either we're traumatized, right? We're paralyzed. We don't use critical analyses, you know, and everything you said is you're absolutely on point. But the challenge with us is that, because as Teresa was saying, you know, we line up for what we believe is important.
And that's because I wanted to comment on that. Go ahead.
What was the last thing? And I'm pretty sure we will all agree. We're all going to say the same thing. What is the last thing that Black people came out in masses for?
The only thing I can think of is Obama.
Well, according to the conversation we had earlier, Stacey Abrams and getting Black people to vote, right? So why is lining up, right, for what we believe important is supporting white people?
Miss Thomas says, in order for everyone to have a chance, they have to see something worth it. Books might be important to you, but having food might be important to me. But why is materialistic things seem to be like the most important, having these shoes and these iPhones and things of that nature? Why is that currency to some people, as Elena put it? Why is that like a currency to some people? Why isn't building wealth and buying land and things of that nature, things that will sustain you and you can pass down and become legacy? Why are those things not important to Blacks?
Because of things that we have not been taught. I mean, if we're back to the 70s, and if you look at the person that was most influential in the community, in the Black community, is that they had the caddy, which made you look. They get out the caddy, it's what they had on. It wasn't the Black man with the corner hardware store on the corner. We are caught up by I don't know, flash. And the thing about the Cadillac that's interesting is that the Cadillac, when introduced, they would not sell it to Black people. So when Joe Louis bought a Cadillac, he had to buy it from a white person to own it, because Cadillac would not sell it to you. So when a Black person looked at a Black person owning a Cadillac, they're like, wow, what did you do to get that? Because they don't sell it to Black people. That is where our currency and value is. It is in the scene, the chain, the suit, the car, the ring, the chain. You see the rappers today. I have to show you how important I am, where other communities basically will drive a Subaru, look bummy, and have $2-3 million in a IRA, or in their bank account. That's the difference, because we don't aspire in that direction. We aspire to look as presentable as possible to give the appearance that we're doing a lot better than we are.
So Miss Thomas says, because that is what makes me survive in my area. And
you got to go back and read what she said.
Oh, that's you, because you keep hitting buttons leaving. Sorry.
This is for you.
So she says, in order for everyone to have a change, they have to see something worth it. Books might be important to you, but having food might be important to me. And then her hubby says, because some people are still under the belief that having things equal wealth. I still don't understand that. If my neighbor doesn't own it, why should I? But then I say, why do you care what your neighbor has? See, that's one of the things that irks me about Blacks. Is like, why does it matter what everybody else has or what everybody else does? Why can't you just do for yourself? And then Todd says, status is currency with the Black community. And then Rich says, poor people love to look rich, thus they remain poor. This stuff I've been saying for a long time.
But
I'm glad that y'all are saying it.
Instead of buying Jordans, buy Nike stock.
Well, but see, check this out. Check this out. Yes, goes back to legacy. If I told you that next week you will have added 65 more years to your life, okay? Next week, we start all over again. And the financial opportunities are going to come. Wealth creation is going to be there. It's going to be available for you. And the only responsibility that you have is to leave a legacy. Right? Would you like that?
Yeah.
Right. See, here's the thing.
65 more years? I'll take that.
Here's the thing. What about those kids who, and I'll say white kids, because I'm pretty sure more white kids than Black kids, at 21, 22 years old, or once they graduate from college, their great-great-great-grandfather has left them an inheritance. So they come out the gate with $350,000. So they go buy a house tonight, you know what I'm saying? Or immediately, right? As we're us,
Right.
people not getting their first house until they what? 31, 32, 33, 34, right? You know, 45 with a 3-year mortgage. You know what I'm saying? And you retire in 20 years, 25 years.
So think about that example, Les. If the white kid is getting it at 22, 23 because it's been left to him, it's like, okay, you're out of college. Now it's time for you to buy. And then the black family is at 33, 35 before they buy it.
Right.
You're getting your education that much later on the same exact thing.
Correct. So this is one of the reasons why we hold on to Jordans, even though to the four of us, this shit makes no sense at all. You know what I'm saying? Being in line for, what's this? Being in line for 12 hours for an iPhone? Now, let me tell you something. I would stand in line for 12 hours for an iPhone if that once I got it, I was able to make $1,000 a week just by having it. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I'd be in line all day for that.
Right. It's a tool. So when you start looking at these things as tools, you utilize them a little bit differently, right? So instead of buying Jordans and the Jordans use you, right? Instead of buying Jordans and say, look, I'll give you an example. I'm a life coach. Like that's what I call myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everywhere I go, I'm on display. Does that make sense? Because you can't drop knowledge on people and try to help people if you look like a bum. If you're selling shoes, your shoes need to be polished. Am I right? Because the first thing people are going to do is look at what you're marketing and what you're selling. So everything from this to this, you know what I'm saying, is not about material. Because I got this on sale, like $40 for my birthday. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't spending $250 for this, you know, but it's a marketing tool. Here's the thing about what happens.
I want to hold up. I want to get into what Ms. Thomas is saying.
Let me say this. Let me say this. And I'm being selfish. I'm going to call her after I get off the phone anyways. And I'm going to call Deshaun too. This is what I'm saying. If you got money, buying a pair of Jordans ain't no thing. Buying an Apple Watch ain't no thing. It's just clothes to you. What they've done to Black people is a word called marketing. It's not about business. It's all about marketing. And they've marketed it to us, being hoes, to the point that it turns into a legitimate business. I'd rather work in a marketing department than a business, because if I can market something to you, you know, as in Mad Men, where they were marketing cigarettes, knowing how dangerous cigarettes were, but the guy was able to flip that to the point that had everybody smoking. So with Black people, I think we have been victimized. We've been victimized to the point where if we want to look good, right, there's a price that's put on it, you know?
All right. Well, she says, how can I know what to do with myself if I don't see the possibilities? Most of us don't know what you can. Most of us don't know that you can. I guess supposed to be attain home ownership program at 14. Jordan shows possibilities to some, and don't you call this house you started it. So, okay, but Ms. Thomas, that goes back to what we were saying earlier about educating and teaching. Well, as you like to call it, you're not teaching, you're learning, right? So my thing is, you can't. At what point are you personally responsible? I guess my thing is, if you want to leave everything, well, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. The internet is right there. Back in the day, we didn't have the internet. Now people have the internet. You can learn things. And this goes back to teaching our kids. If we know this stuff, we have to instill this and teach it to our children that, you know what, home ownership, there is a program at age 14. Start teaching them about it. Like I was trying to teach people about the stock market. And if people had If they would have invested when I was teaching them years ago, by now they would have $300,000 in the bank.
But here's the problem. The problem is that you said we got to teach our kids, right?
Or learn them. Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. You have to learn how to use the internet. You're right. You can get any and everything that you want right now online. It doesn't make any sense. You can learn how to build a bomb. You know what I'm saying? You can learn how to do anything online, but you have to learn how to learn. And the problem is that, going back to what I said earlier, our development has been arrested to the point that learning was something that was taken away from us. So we don't even know how to learn. And therein lies the problem.
Okay, so Rich says, the greatest asset is a thirst for wisdom, what you truly want. To Nikki's point, can be studied and attained by just doing the research. And then, Miss Thomas says, social media is teaching our kids how to not listen as well. Okay, but see, this is the thing. At what point are we parents and we say enough is enough? My kid wasn't on social media until she turned 16, 17, because I wouldn't allow it in my house. You know what I mean? It's like, sometimes I think we try to be our kid's friend as opposed to being the parent. So I think some of the things are, to me, excuses and not answers. And Elena's looking. You disagree, Elena?
Yes and no, a little bit and not. There are a lot of things that you can learn on the internet. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet as well. And I think when it comes to kids, the Internet of Things is expanding so rapidly that the reality of your daughter when she was coming up is not the reality of children today. Like, you can barely do anything without being connected to the internet. And whether or not you allow it in your home or not, children are in spaces where they have access to things, and they can find it on their own. And I think that one of the difficulties of the information age is also that there's just so much misinformation. It is important. Yeah, I think it's important for parents to monitor what their children do, to, limit their use or not to give them access at all. But because it is so readily available, it's becoming increasingly difficult. A lot of, especially since the pandemic started, a lot of kids have had to get iPads, laptops just for school. So the kids are connected, and it's hard to keep it from them, especially if their friends are involved. So I think it's monitoring the electronics, but you also have to kind of set your child up for success by monitoring their environment as well, their friends, what you're surrounding them with, and even in your own home. Like I mentioned, my uncle bought me this book, but one of the greatest blessings that my parents gave me was a library. Like, our home had an extensive library, and on the weekends, I would often just go find a book, because that was what surrounded me. So I think that, parents also have to be really intentional about what are you surrounding your kids with and whom.
Right. Rich says, if we are no smarter with smartphones in our pockets, we have no one to blame but ourselves. And Miss Thomas says, agree.
Rich said earlier, he said, read. You know what I'm saying? And even with that, I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing ever. To be able to read and to use that critical analysis. Let me tell you something. And I tell people all the time, when I read, it takes me places physically that I've never been before. I have discovered so much from just reading, and we all do. So I'm not saying anything, that's, oh yeah. But what I'm saying is like being there, and have you ever read a book to the point when you described what you read that people actually thought that you was actually there? So reading is a great escape. It also gives you the information that you need. And it gives me that confidence because, most people can't read. Most people can't reason because they can't read. And they don't have any type of conversation because they don't pick up a book and read it. You know, and not just a book, just read, period. You don't necessarily have to read a book, you know, read everything. So we are, like I said, you know, we've covered a lot of things. You know, we've talked about reading, we've talked about shoes, we talked about black people being hoes, per Nikki. We talked about, you know, we've talked about Stacey Abrams, Farrakhan, Brother Khalid Muhammad, you know, and currency, you know, pushing that needle. We have these conversations and these deep conversations every week, except for when Nikki counsels. You know what I'm saying? You know, for good reasons. You know, but it's like building our table. I think that's something that maybe we can come up with. What do we need? But in order to build a table, you got to plant a seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
The seed has to be in good ground, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a period of time to cultivate the ground, the land. It's
You
going
gotta till it. Mm-hmm. You gotta nurture it.
The seed to go all the way down to the bottom, touch water, build the roots, then come back and sprout back up, and to grow into a tree in which we can cut down for the wood in order to make the table. How much time do we have to do that? We got a long way to go and a short time to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So what I advise people to do, the ones who know, put it into your kids, you know? And if you're talking to a kid and they don't want to get it, move on. Go to someone else.
Okay. All right, y'all. Let's see. We had a comment and it says, I am one of 5 people building right now. Building our own table is possible. And yes, being a parent is being a human cultivator.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, guys, this show has been like, woo, a lot. I love the interaction. I love people's point of view. I love that we can agree to disagree. That is a beautiful thing. I love everybody's ideas and their thoughts and how they, you know, how they think. And I think for the most part, you know, everybody that has comment kind of, you know, feels the same way. I think we all agree we do have a lot of work to do. And it takes a village, man. It really, really does. It truly takes a village. You know, we have to start investing in ourselves, in our community, in our kids, in our businesses, you know, and that's just one thing I don't think that we do enough of, and we need to start doing more of that. So I want to thank our guest, Alana, for being with us today. Thank you, Kyle.
You know her name is Elena, right?
I'm sorry. Leave me alone. I'm having issues.
What's in that cigar you smoking?
Huh?
See?
Can I share one last paragraph from this book? It's really short. It's
Yeah, and can you like put the thing in the chat so we can get the name of that?
Yeah. Just to what Les was saying, every member of the community should participate in SBA. SBA means teaching, learning, wisdom, and study, or collectively deep thought. Deep thought is universal among Africans. Respect for deep thought is reflected in African languages and especially in terminology about words. A study of proverbs, metaphors, and stories in African society shows that deep thought was the rule. I say, let's continue to deep thought and go deeper.
Yes.
So I'll throw it in the comments.
That is beautiful. Beautiful. That sounds like a book we all need to read. I really like the paragraph that she read in the beginning. That was beyond deep. That was really, really cool. I really enjoyed that. Melanie, thank you for tuning in again. Rich, thank you for
Yeah, Rich.
For joining us. We generally do this on Wednesdays at 4, but I had a lot going on yesterday, so we had to move it to today. So I generally put the thing out that morning or afternoon, when we're going live. So thank you for your thoughts and for participating. So the name of the book is, how about I just put it in the, hang on, put it in the comments on Facebook for anybody that wants to read it. It is, let's stick it up here. It is SBA, The Reawakening of the African Mind by, is that Asa? Is that how you pronounce it? Asa G. Hilliard III. So that's the book that Elena read the first passage from in the beginning of the show and that she closed us out with. That's absolutely awesome. So thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate it. Thank you to the Thomases for joining us today. Really appreciate you having us. And tell your brother Ike, thank you for joining us. That was really cool having him. So we'll be back next week, Wednesday at 4 p.m. And I want everybody to have an awesome and safe weekend. If you are, what's I gonna say? If you work for the government or whatever, you know that you are off on Monday. So hold up, we got another comment. Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Thomas, for joining us. And I'm calling you that because I think I've just been botching your name up and I don't like doing that. So I do apologize. So on that note, family, we out. Peace.
Yeah.